backs. It's time to relax for a moment. So get yourself comfortable. And then just with that natural neutral spine, that smallish gap through the lower back and no more, with the legs bent. Let's just take a moment to breathe here. So deep breaths in, breathe high and wide, feel this chest cavity, and then out through the mouth. So we're just holding a little bit of tension to the stomach muscles and sending that air high and wide into the rib cage. Big deep breaths. So let's continue to breathe deeply as we move through this class. We're going to take our arms out nice and wide first of all. And with those feet and knees about hip width apart, knees, heels underneath those knees. Let's just take a very gentle move over from side to side with these legs. So out breath as those legs move across. In breath as we bring legs back through to center. Then out breath over to the other side. Small movements to begin, just gently starting to build some warmth into the body and just create that little bit of mobility. Shoulders down. Continue to breathe deeply. Let's do one more of those to each side. And then bring those legs back through to center. And again with those feet and knees still about hip width apart, really connect those feet to the mat now. Hands just down by your sides. We're going to take these gentle rocks of the hips forwards and backwards. Let's hold this tension into our core. Remember, squeeze through the stomach muscles, squeeze into those glutes, and a little deep connection. Zip up into those pelvic floor muscles. Breathing with the movement. Just creating that small bit of mobility through the lower back. And now as we move into our next rock back of those hips, let the bum lift, push your feet into the mat, and just start to peel a little bit of the lower spine away, not too much. And then roll the spine back down, bum touches down, we rock the hips forwards, ready to do the same again. Rock back, lift the bum, peel the spine away a little bit more this time, and then roll back down. So each time we lift that little bit higher, until eventually we find that full shoulder bridge. Exhale, lift. Inhale, roll down. Let's bring these arms into the movement as well here. So as we get to the top of the movement, those hands come all the way over your head, touch the floor behind you, and then hands back over as we roll this spine back down into the mat. Rock the hips forwards, doing the same again. Rock back, peel the spine, start to lift those hands. Find that nice high shoulder bridge before we roll back down. Then we have this option of lifting a foot. So as we get to the top of the movement here, we lift one foot, bring the knee over the hip, and we can either keep it at 90 degrees or we extend this leg out. Then bend the leg, place that foot back down, hands back over, and roll down. And then we do the same to the other leg. It's just an option though. If you prefer to keep both feet down, that's fine. Just a bit of a stretch into those hamstrings, and a little bit more work into the lower back, into the glutes, into those hamstrings as we get to the top of the movement. One or two more of those to do if you can. Just the intensity if you need to. And once you've done your final one, we're going to roll this spine down really purposefully here, piece by piece, vertebra by vertebra, into the mat, bum down, then lift the feet, bring the knees into the body, and a nice little massage through the lower back, side to side movement there. A good deep breath. And then just letting go of those legs. We're going to keep the legs in the air, push the feet out so these knees are directly above the hips now, this 90-degree position. We're starting off with the hands at the side of the head, just fingertips to the forehead, and then taking a deep breath in. As we breathe out, we lift the head, chin into the chest, peel that upper spine away, keep the legs exactly where they are, feel a little bit of resistance into the stomach muscles, and then lower slowly back down on the in-breath. So out breath, lift, pause until you're fully exhaled, in-breath as we lower back down. These elbows nice and wide. Keep the tension out of those neck muscles. And this time, as we get to the top of the movement, send those arms out in front, palms facing down, holding this position, and we're going to beat these arms now. Keep the chin tucked into the chest, pull the stomach muscles in, keep breathing for me. Let's take 2 or 3 big deep breaths in and start to feel that tension building in these stomach muscles. Yes. Good deep breaths. Here comes the warmth in those core muscles. And then we can lower those feet down and rest the head down. And just release for a moment, maybe a little side to side with the head, just to release any tension from those neck muscles. And we're going to do one more of those, what we call the 100. This time I'll give you the extra option of extending these legs out, so we can have the legs at 90 degrees, feet in the air. If you do struggle with it, you can have the feet to the floor. And the extra option is to extend these legs out. So we're going straight into it this time. So we're lifting the head, chin into the chest, peeling that spine away, reach forward, find the tension in the stomach muscles, and we beat these arms. Remember, if you prefer, legs at 90, or even feet to the floor. Continue to breathe. Hold lots of tension into your core and send that air into the ribcage, into the chest cavity. One more breath to do there. And then we're bending the legs, feet to the floor. Legs go longer along the mat, hands above the head. Full body stretch there. Let's have a little wiggle side to side, just creating a nice stretch into all those different muscles around the core. And then just take a moment to breathe. Now we're going to start our next exercise from this position. So just make sure there's no big gap underneath this lower back. We want what we call our neutral spine, so just that natural curve through the lower back, a very small space there. Brace the core, back and button into the spine, squeeze to the glutes, connect to those pelvic floor muscles, and then bringing these hands over the top, head lifts, chin to the chest, look towards the toes. We bring one knee in, reach forward, squeeze to the stomach muscles, extend that leg out, take the hands above the head. Ready to do the same to the side. Out breath, lift. In breath. As we lower back down, let's just keep changing these legs over. Pausing until we're fully exhaled. And then if that feels okay, we start to bring ourselves more into this seated position. And then rolling back down. If you're going to try that option, make sure that you are peeling the spine away. You're not throwing your body up into the air. And then just dropping back down to the mat. All done with control. Looking good. Stay strong. Stay engaged in these core muscles. And let's see if we can do 2 more to each leg before we go back to our full body stretch. And then when you have done, stretch it out again there. Breathe for a moment. So we're going to take these arms out nice and wide now. We're going to bend the legs and just find this neutral spine again, this natural curve. Let's brace the core once we've got that. We're lifting our legs into the air now, so those knees are above the hips, 90 degrees at the knees if you can. If you are struggling with this one, you can drop the heels towards the bum or even feet to the floor. And we're looking for some rotation through the lower body here. So keeping the shoulders down, just allow the legs to move over to one side, this opposite hip lifts. Bring the legs back to center, and then take the legs over to the other side. Out breath across, in breath to center. Challenging yourself just to take it that little bit further if you can, but making sure you feel fully in control with that movement, and that opposite shoulder stays down. And then if you want an extra little challenge into these stomach muscles, as we bring legs back through to center, we lift the head, chin into the chest, peel that upper spine away, reach forward with our hands, head and thighs come towards each other, then reset, and then take the legs over to the other side. And you can do that little double crunch type movement each time you come up to center if you wish. Out breath as you lift up to that point, in breath as you reset, and then out breath as you move the legs over to the other side. Let's see if we can do one more of these, two each side, before we just pop those feet to the floor. If you go down, we should release the tension from those stomach muscles once you've done that final one there. Take a moment to breathe. Now from here, we're going to lift the feet, bring the knees into the body, hook these legs, and then bring your head towards your knees. Let's just have a little roll up and down the spine, middle part of the spine to begin with. It's a quite small movement. And then see if we can create a little bit more momentum. Pulling into those legs a little bit more. And eventually see if we can bring ourselves all the way up to a seated position. If you need to, use your hands and arms to come up. And then once we are up seated here, we're going to take these legs out straight and then flex those ankles. So we're pointing the toes up towards the ceiling. Arms are going to come over the legs, and then we're going to create this C curve. So we do that by bringing the chin to the chest, rocking the hips back, pulling the stomach muscles in, and reaching forwards. And then as we've got that C curve, we then fold forwards and find our stretch into our hamstrings, into the lower back. Don't force it, just hold it where it feels a little bit uncomfortable. Take some nice deep breaths here. Breathe into the upper back. Now we're going to work towards our spine stretch. So from here, we lift the head, we pull the shoulder blades back, we engage into the thighs, into those core muscles, and sit really tall. And then we C-curve and forward fold again. So out breath as we forward fold and stretch. In breath as we sit really tall and find that spine stretch. Just want you to move between those two positions, linking your breath in with the movement. Just trying to develop that stretch a little bit more as we fold forward, as these muscles start to warm to the movement. Let's do one more spine stretch. We come all the way up. We pause for a second, sitting really tall, and then forward fold. Keep this forward fold on for just a moment. And I want you to keep this C curve on now as we just start to lean back. As we rock the hips back, we start to allow our lower back just to roll into the mat, engage into the core, anchor those feet to the floor. Now pull all the way up. And we do a little double bounce at that point of resistance. In breath as we roll down. Out breath as we come up and forward fold. Now it's up to you how far down you go. If halfway is enough, keep it there. If you feel you can go shoulder blades down, great. Pulling all the way back up. Or we can go all the way down. Shoulders down, head down, hands above the head. Make sure you've got neutral spine. And then we peel the spine away as we come all the way back up. Again, just all about control here, no momentum. Let's see if we can get 2 or 3 more of these in if we can. We're going to finish off down on our backs. So when you're on your last one, I want you to roll down super, super slow. If you need those forearms just to give you some support, you can do. And then full body stretch position again. Time just to breathe for a moment. Good. So from here, we're going to bend the legs, engage the core. Once we've got that neutral spine again, we're bringing one knee into the body, both hands to the shin of this leg. Extend the other leg out very high into the air. And then we're just peeling this upper spine away, chin into the chest, head towards the knee. And let's just slowly change these legs over. In breath as one knee comes in. Out breath as your other knee comes in. And remember, the lower you go with the extending leg, the heavier the leg will feel, the harder the exercise will feel. Then we can take the hands off the shins, place them loosely to the side of the knee to make it a little more challenging. Or hands to the side of the head. And the final option is this crisscross elbow to opposite knee, working into those oblique muscles. Keep breathing with the movements, locking that core in tight, adjusting that position if you need to. Two more extensions to each leg if you can. And then once you're done, once again, feet come down. Take a very quick breather here, just time to release the tension and take a breath or two. That was our single leg stretch. We're going to move this into our double leg stretch now. So bringing our legs back into the air. This time peeling the upper spine away and reaching forward with the fingertips to the ankle bones. Now we extend both legs out. We keep the upper body lifted, hands come over the head on the extension, and then as we bend the legs, we bring those hands back in and touch the ankles again. Extension, brace the core, make sure the lower back doesn't lift, and then bring the knees in. Exhale as you extend. Inhale as you bring these knees in. Try and get a really nice flow to this, almost as if you're swimming. Again, the lower you go with those legs, the heavier they'll feel, the harder it will get. So adjust accordingly. One leg at a time if it feels too much with both. And let's see, we get 2 or 3 more of these in. Really keep the belly button pulled into the spine. And once you've done your final one, let's put the feet to the floor, straighten those legs out, take the hands above the head, and get a really big full body stretch in there, well stretch through those stomach muscles. Well done. Whew. And breathe from over there. Good. We'll give these stomach muscles a little bit of a rest now. So we're going to roll over onto one side. And once you're onto your side there, let's just rest the head onto this lower arm. And then stack the legs and pull those feet nicely back in line. We can either have this hand in front or onto our thigh, but let's engage through the core. They're not the prime moves in this, but they're still going to be active. And then lifting both legs just away from the mat, keeping feet together and then lowering back down. So this is not about how high we lift these legs, it's just about finding a big stretch at that point of resistance. So breathing out as we lift, pausing until we fully exhale the in-breath as we come down. Option to have this hand onto the thigh and then add that little side bend into this. So as we lift the legs, the armpit and ribcage just lifts enough so we can slide fingertips towards the knee. We feel a little squeeze into this waist area as we do this. Let's go for 2 more of these. Reaching away with those toes. Big, big stretch through the lower body. And then hand in front, bring those knees into the body just for a moment there. Release the tension. Good. So we're going to keep these legs bent now. This time then we're going to pull those feet back in line. So they're still, the knees are still slightly in front of the body, but not fully out in front. We're then going to lift both feet away from the floor, this hand just in front for balance, and then we're just opening that top knee up, feeling a little stretch to the inner thigh and squeeze into the glutes before we bring knees back down. Out breath as we lift. In breath as we lower. Slow and steady, keeping the body completely still. And just feeling that gentle squeeze into those glutes. Now, if you want to, you can keep it just as a knee lift, or we can add a kick in at the top. So as we get to that top, we extend that leg out. It's a slow but quite a powerful kick out. Feet together, knees together. That's a good lift and kick on the out breath. Feet together, knees together on the in breath. Keep this going forward, just a few more of these. Still strong through the core, keeping the body still. Let's do one more if we can. Power it out, big kick. Heels together, knees together. Rest those knees down just for a moment. Then we push both legs out straight. And then we're just going to do a straight leg lift, high as you feel comfortable going, and float it down. Just stopping before you rest down onto that lower leg. Exhale, lift. Inhale, lower. Still working into these glutes slightly differently now with this movement. Body's nice and still. This is good. Do a couple more of these full ranges, and then we're going to do a few little pulses. So let's do one more here. Floating down. This next time, we need to go about 3/4 of the way up, so not fully up. And then we're just going to do a little pulse, that top range, that top quarter of the movement for 5, 4, 3, hang on in there, 2, 1, woof, and bend the leg, rest that knee down. Good. Take a moment there. Lovely. Good work. Let's really slowly push ourselves up to a seated position now. We'll come and do the other side of those in a moment. Before we do that, so cross the legs. And then sit nice and tall. We're then looking to take those arms out nice and wide. Pull the shoulder blades back so the hands are in a good straight line and the arms are parallel to the floor. We're going to find this rotation through the body, through the upper body this time. Just pushing up against the resistance in those back muscles, coming back through to center. And then doing the same to that other side. So out breath as we move round, in breath as we come back to center. Holding posture, breathing with the movement. Maybe just challenging that range of movement with a double bounce at the end of the movement. Not forcing it, not yanking the body round, but just asking the question of the body twice. Can I go that millimetre further? Keep these arms strong. And let's do one more to each side. And then when we come back to center, we're going to keep our arms out long here. Squeeze the shoulder blades, find posture form and breathe. 2 big deep breaths in. Brilliant, good. And then just have a little roll of those shoulders. Maybe a little bit of a C curve just to release the tension from those postural muscles. Brilliant, we're going to go over onto your other side now. So take your time, get them into position. We're starting with those double leg lifts. So this lower arm is going to be straight, resting the head onto the bicep, feet stacked, legs stacked and pulled back in line, and either the hand in front or onto your thigh. Let's engage into the core and let's start these leg lifts just with the lower body first. Out breath lift, in breath lower. Sure we keep those feet lined up, we've got nice length all the way down the body. And then option to lift that head, armpit, rib cage away enough just to slide fingertips to the side of the knee before we rest down. It's good. Really strong, stay engaged through the core. Find that stretch, pointing those toes away from you. And let's get 2 or 3 more of these in if we can, before we bring both knees in. And once we've done that final one, we can then just bend those legs, bring the knees in, hand in front. Take a moment. Good. And then just pulling those feet back in line with the upper body, so those knees are still stacked. Let's lift those feet again. We've got these knee lifts first of all. So opening up just high enough to feel stretch into the inner hip area. It'll squeeze into the glutes before we lower knees down. Exhale, lift. Inhale, lower. So up to you here, if you want to keep it just as a knee lift, that's fine. Or now we can add that kick in, that slow but powerful extension, and then feet and knees coming back together. So your core, whichever level you want to choose. Really strong through all those muscles in that top leg as you kick it out. Good. Let's get 2 or 3 more of these in if we can. And once you've done your final one, we can just take a moment, a brief rest as the knees come in. And then we're pushing those legs out long again, engaging into that top leg, and then lifting as high as feels comfortable for you before we float back down. Exhale, lift. Inhale, lower. Keep that body still. See how different it feels on this side to the other. Stay nicely engaged through the stomach muscles as well as through those glutes. We're going to do 2 more of these full lifts, and we've got those lovely pulses to finish on. So this next time we lift about 3/4 of the way up, and then we pulse through that top quarter for 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, and bend that leg. Rest the knee down and take a moment. Excellent. Time to stretch those glutes out there. And then we're just going to roll over onto our stomachs now. Coming round, taking your time, bringing the hands around so you can just rest your chin onto your fingers. And then we're going to do a little bit of back work here, but let's make sure we still engage into those deep abdominals just to protect the back. I want you to keep your feet on the floor for this first exercise as well, so lifting the head away from the hands, peeling this chest away. Find a little bit of length in that spine as well as finding resistance through the lower back. And then we float back down. So breathe it out as we lift. Pause until you're fully exhaled. Deep breath in, or as deep as you can in this position as you lower down. Option then to lift the hands and arms away to give us extra resistance. And the third option, getting the upper back working here. As we come to the top of the movement, we pull those elbows towards the ribcage, squeeze through the shoulder blades, bring the hands together, and we lower all the way back down. So out breath as we lift, then open up. In breath as you lower. Don't forget core strong, squeeze of those glutes. Final option then is a little double squeeze. 1 time in, 2 times in with those elbows, and then lower back down. So really getting that upper back working with that double squeeze. Take an extra breath if you're doing that. So you're starting to feel some work through this lower back now. We're not forcing it, we're not trying to lift too high, we're just finding resistance and pausing at that point of resistance before we come down. And let's see if we can get 2 or 3 more of these in before we Take a moment to release all that tension we've built up. And once you've done that final release, relax. Let all that tension melt away for a moment. And breathe. So we're going to think about the lower body now, keeping the head and upper body down. Let's really stretch these legs out, really push your hips into the floor. And I just want you to have your feet about hip width apart. Now from here we can either lift one leg at a time away, so hips stay down on the mat, and we just alternate these leg lifts. Or we lift both legs at the same time, big stretch, keep the hips down, and then lower back down. So it's not about how high you lift, it's about finding some resistance and then stretching through, trying to touch that wall behind you with the toes. Third option on this one, as we get to the top of the movement, the feet come apart to about shoulder width. Then we squeeze those legs back towards hip width and lower back down. So again, just find the level that feels right for you. Keeping control of your movements. Make sure you're not throwing those legs into the air. Keep pulling those stomach muscles in and squeezing gently into the glutes to protect the back. Let's see if we can do 3 or 4 more of these. And then we release the tension. Let it all just melt away for a moment there. Good, good, good. So we're going to just bring these hands under the shoulders now. Let the hips lift and push into your hands, and then bring yourself slowly up to an all fours tabletop position for me. We're going to have hands under the shoulders, knees underneath the hips here, and just take a gentle rock of the hips forward to give us a little bit of length in that spine, that neutral spinal position. Then lifting the right hand and left knee, we're going to send that arm and leg out long to the height of the body. I want you to keep that hand and knee off the mat as we bring the elbow, the knee and the head all together, and then really drive away, power away, big stretch. Exhale as you do that. Deep breath in as we slowly bring everything back together, and then drive away, extension. Keep this going for me, staying on this side, keeping balance. Bring those fingertips apart to help us with that balance on that left hand. 2 more of these if we can. Slowly out and then power, extension out. We'll be quite dynamic on that extension. Final time, find balance. And then bring that hand and knee down. Just gently sit back for a moment to our child's pose. Just taking a couple of seconds to breathe. Any little movements that feel good for you there, do them. And then slowly we come back to our tabletop. And we need to do the other side. So we're lifting that left hand, right knee, sending that arm and leg out long, find a little bit of balance, and then elbow, knee, head all come together before we drive out again. Power. In breath, and then out breath, extension. Stay strong, stay dynamic with that extension. It's looking good. 2 or 3 more if you can. Be strong, be engaged in those deep abdominals. 1 final time if you can. Power out, and then really slowly down with that hand and knees, open the knees up, sit back into our child's pose. Fantastic, well done. And time to release the tension and breathe for a moment. Good. Lifting the bum away from the heels now, tucking those toes underneath, just sitting back over those heels. Just feel a nice little stretch into the soles of the feet, into those toes. And then we're just sliding the hands forward a touch, gripping into those hands, lifting the knees, sending the bum into the air. Just have a little pedal out in our inverted V or child's pose. And then from here, we're going to take our gaze towards our hands, send our weight forwards, maybe shuffle the feet back a touch and find plank. Shoulders pull back, squeeze the glutes, make sure our bums aren't in the air too much. Find length there. Yeah, it's looking good. Let's breathe here. And then a little bend of the legs, send the bum back into the air into our inverted V. And breathe in this position. We're going to do that one more time. We're going to find that plank again. This time, the option of leg lift. So let's find length first, head in front of the hands, push those heels away, shoulders pull back. Option to lift one leg, slowly float down, lift the other leg, and float down. Brace into the core. Out breath, lift, in breath, low. And if that's too much, we keep the feet down. And we just slowly change sides. If you can, let's go one more to each side if possible. Brilliant. Good. Now then, bend the legs, send the bum into the air. This time we're going to walk these hands towards the feet. And let's just take a little forward fold here, slight bend of the legs. Take a moment to rest. And sliding those hands up the shins, up the thighs, restacking the spine in its correct position. We stand nice and tall at the top. Brilliant. Now we're going to do some squats. Now we're going to do these with our feet about hip to shoulder width apart. So we take a hinge of the hips, we find length in the spine, we sweep our arms forward and we just sit back as if you're perching onto a stool. Pause in there for a moment. And then standing tall, letting the hands come by your side and letting the heels lift, grip of the toes, see if you can find a little bit of balance. Heels down, hinge the hips, and let's lower down, in breath down. Pause for a moment there, out breath, stand tall, find balance. Let's keep moving between these positions. Sitting as deep as your knees and your hips and your lower back will allow, and then coming out with control. Couple more of these to do. So we're going to come all the way up to the top here, pause for a moment, and now we're just going to sit back into this, almost a chair pose now, into this deep squat and pause here for just a couple of breaths. Next out breath, bring your hands by your side, find that balance point on the balls of the feet, and again an extra breath or two here. In breath, we lower those heels down, and then it's just a little forward fold down, stretch through the lower back, through those hamstrings. And then taking the hands to the floor, step back, and place the knees down and just find the middle of your mat. Good, so we're going to do a little bit of upper body work now with some press-ups. We're going to keep these really on the triceps today. So I want fairly narrow grip, so not too wide at all. And think about pulling these elbows back. So the elbows are almost pointing to those bottom edges of your mat. Probably means your knees aren't going to be too far back at all. And then imagine you're squeezing in with those elbows. That space in front of your fingers is where we're aiming our nose towards and have to go all the way down. And then push into those hands to really get those triceps working. In breath down, out breath. The key to this is keeping this weight forwards. If your head comes behind the hands, your elbows go to the floor, you don't really get the triceps work, it's more of a shoulder workout. So just pivoting on the knee And allowing that movement to keep those elbows pulled in and push back out. Slow and steady, in breath down, out breath extend. Can we manage 3 or 4 more of these? And once you've done your final one here, we push back and we take our weight all the way back to our child's pose. Just open those knees up. And maybe you want to take those hands down by your feet just to release the tension from the shoulders and from the triceps. Bringing the hands forwards. Now placing forearms down. We're just going to do a low plank now. So we're going to just take those feet out, step out, push the heels away, head over your hands, elbows tuck in. We find this low plank, so it's taking the weight away from those wrists. And then from here, we're still in a little bit of a twist. So pivoting on those feet, and then we're just gently dropping the hip towards the floor, not all the way, coming back through to center, and seeing if you can just do a little pivot to the other side. Dropping, engaging those deep core muscles, out breath to the side, in breath to center, pulling the stomach muscles in all the time. Adjust those feet if you need to. We're looking good. Hold on. 1 more of those to each side. Pull the stomach muscles in strong. Active through those shoulders as well. And then we can lower the stomach down. And then just take the hands to the side there so we can rest the chest down. And then from here, we're starting to ease things down. So just using the stomach muscles, push into your hands, just like a little half cobra there. Just open up through the stomach muscle. Do a stretch. Pull the shoulder blades back. And then we lower the chest all the way down. Push into those hands and come all the way back to our child's pose. And it really is time to wind things down now. Well done. And sliding the hands to the knees now so that we come up to a upright kneeling position. Just taking the hands behind, interlacing those fingers, squeezing through the shoulder blades, opening up through the chest. And then we breathe. Deep breath, high and wide again. Good, and we release. And bringing the hands to the mat again, slide them forward so we can find our tabletop position once more. And into our cat-cow here, so gently rocking the hips forwards, lengthening all the way along the spine, lifting the chest and just looking forwards of your mat. Pausing for a moment there and then reversing, tucking the tailbone under, pulling the stomach muscles in, chin into the chest, look towards your knees, push your hands into the mat. And let's just slowly move between these positions, moving with your breath. In breath to one position, out breath to the other. Let's do 1 more to each of those positions. And then we just find the halfway point between the two. There's that nice straight back. Walking the hands towards the knees, lifting up to high kneeling. And then let's take a big stride forward with your right foot there. This left hip just comes round, so it's both hips are pointing forwards. Hands to this right thigh. Just gently ease in here, feeling this stretch into the inner hip and thigh area with good posture. And then placing that left hand gently to the mat, we're taking the right arm out in front and then just creating a little bit of rotation there, fingertips up towards the ceiling. Bringing that hand down, just walking those hands back in, pushing yourself back up to this high kneeling position again, step that foot in with control, and we do the same to the left. So a big stride forward with that left foot, right hip comes round, hands to the thigh, just sink into this. Feeling that would stretch the hip flexors. And we breathe. And gently placing that right hand down to the mat. This time, left arm goes forwards and then rotates. Open up, fingertips to the ceiling. Hands both to the floor, framing that foot for a moment as we walk in, and then just step this foot all the way back. Find your high kneeling position again. One hand down, set yourself down, and then sweep these legs all the way round. And then we're going to have another little stretch these hamstrings. So as we did earlier, flex the ankles, a bit of length in the spine first of all, and then hands over the legs, then find that C curve, rock the hips back, chin to the chest, reach forwards and reach down to those feet. Just holding your stretch, wherever that may be, just to find a gentle bit of flexibility, no more, and breathe to the upper back. Slowly releasing, sliding the hands up the shins, hands just to the side of you, bending those legs, and then having a lie down onto your back. And then from here, we're going to take these arms out nice and wide, keep the shoulders down with those legs bent. We just allow them to fall gently over to that left side. And if this feels enough for you, keep it here, or we can bring that right knee over the top of the left and use that left hand just to very gently weigh the leg down. And let's breathe to the right side of this rib cage. Gently, a little tension through the core as we bring those legs back up to center. Settle the position and then move over to that other side. So over to that right. Again, you can keep it there, or we can bring that left knee over the top and use that right hand just to gently weigh down. Don't force it. Breathe to the left side of the rib cage now. Gently releasing. Bring those legs back to center. Tension through the core as you do that. Find the middle of your mat again. We're going to keep the left leg bent, foot on the floor, but then lift the right leg and just hook that ankle onto that left knee. Option here just to push the knee away. Or if you want to add to this stretch through the glutes, we bring the hand through, right hand through the gap, the left hand comes round, you take hold of the hamstring, you can lift the upper body if you want to, or rest the head down, and then just lift that foot to about the height of the knee. Feel your stretch in your glutes. And gently release, foot to the floor, unhook that ankle, and then lift that left foot, ankle onto the right knee. Option again to push the knee away, or we find that figure four stretch we did a moment ago. And just slowly release. Both feet to the floor just for a moment. Find your neutral spinal tension into the core. And let's lift these knees. Bring both knees into the body here. If you want to, you can lift the upper body and have a little roll up and down. Or if you prefer, keep the head down and do some side-to-side movements or mixture of the two, whatever feels good for you. Just to get a little massage into the lower back. And then gently release that. Feet and head down. We're going to take the legs out long, take the hands above the head. Full body stretching, really lengthen out. Create as much distance between the fingertips and the toes as you can. A couple of really big deep breaths here. Really sigh them out. Let's take one more big deep breath in. And as you sigh out, release the tension, release the stretch. Bring these arms down by your sides. And then just find a comfortable position to lie in. A position where you can just release all of the tension of this class. And all that tension just melt away into the mat. As we just take a couple of minutes to relax. So we're just going to bend those legs now, your feet to the floor. And slowly in your own time, we're rolling over onto one side. Just taking a moment on that side just to open your eyes and check in on your body, make sure you feel okay. And then we slowly start to use these hands and arms to push ourselves up to our seated position. Crossing these legs. Find a little bit of posture. And we're just going to take 4 nice big deep breaths in to finish. Into the nose, high and wide, and then sigh those breaths out. Brilliant. Thank you very much. Well done. Good work.